So let's do 1B on the review. And y'all, I've got reviews down here. If you don't have one, you can grab it, okay? So for 1B, it gives me this relation. I get 4,3, and then that purple one over there is going to be the answer key, okay? You can grab that one right there with me. 4,3, and then I've got 4,7, and then I've got an 8,3. So the first step in this problem, whenever you see this relation, is to determine whether or not it's a function. So what we know about functions when we're looking at relations is that my x values can only have one y value. My input can only have one output, right? So I'm going to tell you now, if you look at a relation and your x's repeat, it's not a function. If you can look at your x's and go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and nothing repeats, it's function, right? When I go and read just the x values, I get 4, 4, nope. It's not a function. It already failed because this is saying that my 4 goes to 3 and my input of 4 is also going to 7. So that means that no, it's not a function. So the first step was to determine, right, if it was or was not a function. So nope, not function. And then it's going to tell me to do my domain and my range. Okay, I'm completely okay with y'all on the exam, capital D, do some braces, write your x values. You don't have to write out the word domain. Like, I know what you mean, okay? So my domain is my x values. Literally look here. I've got 4, 4, and 8. You're not going to write 4 twice. You're just going to write 4 once. And even though it's not a function, you still have the ability to write the domain and the ranges of all of them, function or not, okay? And then for my range is my y values. If I look at my y values, I get 3, 7, 3. The only thing I need to write, though, is 3 and 7. Does that make sense? Look at your x values. If you see the same x value more than once, it is not a function. Domain, list your x's. Range, list your y's. And then you're done with that first problem of the exam. Okay? Goodness gracious. Let's do problem 2. Okay. So, of course, I did 2B or not B. It says evaluate the function at the given values of the independent variable and simplify. So evaluate the function to me means I'm actually going to solve something, right? It tells me, what is B? Where am I? Okay, my B is f of x, and then I've got equal 8x minus 8. And then I've got 3 different things that I'm evaluating it at. I can't breathe. So I'm actually going to write them like this so we can solve them this way. I'm going to evaluate this at f of 7. And then I'm going to evaluate this at f of x plus 3. And then I'm going to evaluate it at f of negative x. This is similar to how it's going to look on the exam. It'll have the same directions. It'll list the function you're looking at. And then if there's like an A, B, or C part, like if there's multiple things you're going to do to this one problem, it's usually going to be listed A, B, C, like find these individual things, okay? Some might tell you to do 2 things, but I think I did try to, like if it says point slope and slope intercept, I think I left blanks with the name point slope for you to enter it in, okay? So hopefully it's fairly easy to understand. Okay, so evaluate this function. This is telling me that if you look at this function, this is f of x. And right here, I actually have an x. So if it tells me f of 7, the only thing that changed from writing it in this way and writing it in this way is that my x became 7. So literally, where I have an x, it's going to become a 7. If I do 8 times 7 and then minus 8. Okay, so 8 times 7 is 56. Huh?
Oh, you're right.
Is it 56? Y'all, I legit just went 8 times 8, went out the door, came back, and it was 64 in my head like that, and then took 8 away from it. Because I know the rhyme for 8 times 8. I don't know one for 8 times 7. Okay, sorry, I'm weird. 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, and it's 56. Oh my God. See, the more you know. I love learning new things, y'all. Okay, and then minus 8. Now I know 8 is 2 more than 6, so I would get to 50, and then minus 2 more would be 48, right? So then I would get 48. I would kind of pause for a second because I didn't do this example in the other one. I guess I did A, but A is not even circled, so I don't know why I did A in the previous class. Anyways, I plugged in a numerical value. I got a numerical value. There is an issue if I plug in a number into this function and I get like a polynomial or I get a binomial and there's still x's, right? There shouldn't still be x's. Literally, my x's just turned into 7s, which means I should get a numerical value out. Here, I'm plugging in a binomial, polynomial, 2 different terms, whatever you want to call it. This isn't going to turn out just like this one. This one, I'm still going to have an x value. But if you look, my original function was f of x, and now I have f of x plus 3. So instead of x, I'm going to do x plus 3. Everywhere there's an x. Y'all, this one's actually pretty easy because there's just one x. But if there's multiple, you do the same thing. So like each time, right? So I would do 8, open parentheses, ugly 8, sorry. And then instead of my x, I'm doing x plus 3. And then a negative 8. So this is not considered correct or like done, you know, because I have this 8 touching that parenthesis, which implies multiplication. We need to actually do that multiplication. So 8 times x is 8x. 8 times 3 is 24. So positive 24 and then minus 8. So I get 8x plus 16. This is okay. My answer is okay to have like a variable in this because what I plugged in had a variable in it. I wasn't going to get a numerical value. Did I do math wrong? Here, no. This is the correct answer. Yeah, actually, we're not wanting, this is just wanting you to pretty much plug things into the function and then see what function you get out, not what would make the function true. So literally just the function itself. And then here, instead of my positive x, I do a negative x. If you do 8 times x, you get 8x. Signs are different, so it's negative. And then you have that negative 8 right there. Now, if you have something and it's got an equal sign and you're actually trying to figure it out, then you would be looking for like x equals. You know what I mean? This is literally what's this new function. Okay, so that was 2b. Let's do 3c. Okay. So on even, odd, and neither functions, on the matching ones, there's an even and an odd, right? Neither, of course, would mean that it didn't fall under either category. So it'll actually tell you what your function should look like after you do your test, and then also where it's symmetric. So the problem asks you even or odd and where symmetric. You do that matching correctly, you have your answer, okay? You don't have to memorize it, but y'all need to be able to recognize the formulas because it helps tremendously, okay? You mess that up, it makes sense that pretty much everything else is probably going to mess up following it. You know what I mean? What did I say we were doing? 3? Nope. 3B? B or C?
C.
Okay. I actually have B circled. Oh, and I just did B there. I'm not kidding you. From here on out, it's B, 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 B. Okay, so say we have, okay, so this one says h of x equals x squared and a negative 3x. Y'all, even, odd, neither. If a problem tells you to do that, the only way we learned in this class to tell if something's even, odd, or neither was that test. and the test is plug in negative x, okay? So literally, let's do h of negative x equals, wherever there's an x, I'm now doing negative x in parentheses. And then this, not being able to clear my throat thing, really getting irritated. So I don't want this to be confusing. But when we do the test, we're actually going to look, the reason why I wanted to do B was because it has the 6 and the 8, because they're kind of higher exponents, you know. But you're going to look at the exponents to determine what sign your variable is, whether it's positive or negative. But nothing happens to your exponents. You still write them. Like, they don't change, but I'm using them, right, to just see what's happening here. So I know that I learned if my exponent is even, my variable is positive. So I've got a positive x, keep that exponent. And then I'm going to look right here. Y'all, there's not an exponent written there, but what is that exponent? It's just 1, and 1's odd. And odd told me that my variable was negative. So it literally, nothing changes. It's just going to still look like this. So here I can just do my multiplication. And if you do 3 times x, you get 3x. Negative times a negative is a positive. And so this would be neither. I didn't do this one in another class. Yeah, this would be neither. Because like the sign for my leading didn't change, but the sign for this one did change. It's either all or none. If it's not all change or none change, then it's neither. Okay. So yeah, just make sure that whenever you rewrite it, because that's one, I'm not even kidding you, I mess that up more than anything, is I'll change like the sign if need be for my variables, and then I'll just forget to write down my exponent and I get really confused. I'm using it to see what happens to my x, but it's still a part of my answer, okay? So yeah, that one would be like neither and neither as far as symmetry. Okay, so 4B. Oh, I'm getting anxious. 4B says find the slope. It told me right then and there what I'm going to do. Find the slope, right? I know that in order for me to find the slope, I need 2 points. 4B, the 2 points that I'm given are -1, 4 and a 5, 6. Does anybody want to tell me what the slope formula is? Not everybody all at once. Let's get It's literally going to be the difference of your y values divided by the difference of your x values. The fact that I've got x sub 1 and x sub 2 tells me that I have 2 different x's, which means I have to have 2 different points to even find my slope, okay? And if you notice here, I do have 2 different points. So I'm going to label them xy, xy, 1, 1, 2, 2. And then literally, y'all, once you have them labeled, we're going to throw them into the formula, and that gives me my slope. In a problem like this, it'll ask you if it rises or falls, horizontal or vertical. And once we figure out the slope, that kind of gives you that answer, because if it's positive, it's going to rise. If it's negative, it's going to fall. If it's 0, it's a straight line, horizontal. And if it's undefined, it would be up and down. Okay, so but let's go ahead and solve this. My formula tells me m equals y2, y sub 2, which is 6. In the formula, there's a negative sign. In the formula, it says y1, y sub 1. If I look right here, I've got a 4 over, now in the denominator, x2, which is 5. Formula says minus. Then look at your x sub 1. Don't confuse the two like, oh, awesome, it says negative and that's a negative, so just write negative. You don't. The formula has a negative sign, and then you plug in this value. And that value is an actual -1. So it goes into parentheses because you can't have those 2 negative signs and then it just looked like a big negative sign, right? Like, I mean, you actually have to do that math there. Here I would get 6 minus 4, which is 2. On the bottom, y'all, I have 5 plus 1. That's why you have to make sure you look at your formulas operations and then plug in your terms, okay? And so I would get, what, 2 over 6, which can be reduced to 1 over 3. And that's a positive number, so it's a positive slope. And positive slopes climb. They go up. They get higher. They rise, okay? So this one would rise. Okay, so let's do 5 B. Get a lot of B's. Almost all.